Hello, my name is Stéphanie. Sometimes something like that. Sometimes a little bit like that. Even like that, and sometimes like that. So when I'm listening to my colleagues, two things seem to be really, really complicated to name: CSS class and their firstborn child. My mom never wrote CSS, I think, but she didn't have issues naming me either. She was pregnant and she was working at a pastry shop. And just next to this pastry shop was a florist. And the florist had a little girl, a blonde little girl, who was playing in front of the sunflowers. So when it came about naming her child 9 months later, she decided to give me the name of this little girl, Stephanie. I love the story because I love my mom, and I also really kind of like my name. But my mom didn't anticipate that I would grow up, that she anticipated, but that I would end up using the web. And using the web with a name like mine, and I guess with a name like yours, like many people in Greece, might come with certain little issues. So one of the first places they ask me for my name usually is online forums. And some of those people have really, really, really nice or less polite way of letting me know that they really don't like my name. Something like, hey, first name is invalid, like beep beep, I'm a robot unable to speak to human beings. Or another variant is like, please enter a valid name. So, dear people, let's be clear about something. My name is totally valid. My mom even wrote me a poem for my birthday. So this is a valid name, and I hate your forms for doing that. Special characters are forbidden. Yay, because the other characters aren't special enough. A to Z, the oops, something is not right, okay. Please only use A to Z in your name. I can understand that because I work in the industry, but for end users, A to Z doesn't mean anything. Special characters are not allowed, A, Z, 9, space, and at this point I'm not even sure what's allowed, the things between the brackets, or yeah, I just give up. So this is a website. They sell computer equipment. They ship to France because you can actually choose French and France into the little drop-down. And when I finished the form, I had this little message on the top. So please enter English-only characters. That doesn't mean anything. But again, I'm used to that kind of thing. So like, okay, there's an issue with my name. Combo, I was kind of having fun with that because here you see, I don't really live in Pont-l'Évêque, but I just wanted to test it a little bit. So here, you've got the hyphen, you've got the apostrophe, and you've got two special characters. Of course, they don't want you to put that, but they still deliver to France. So at this point, I've given up. I just misspelled my name, misspelled the name of the city, and that's it. We're so obsessed with name validation that some of people have to remind their developers that their VP's name has 2 characters, because some developer decided that a name needs to have at least 3 characters. That's how obsessed we are with kind of name validation. So what do? Well, we can't do really anything about that, so let's just maybe stop trying to validate the name. This is an article about falsehood programmers believe about names. There are 40 points in this article. 40 things that people believe about names that are not true. So the easier way is still like not validate those. Okay, let's assume that your form was nice enough to let me enter my name. Thank you. Doesn't mean I'm off the hook. So sometimes my accent goes through the form, and then we have some issues with typography. This is Le Petit Prince, so the little prince. One of my favorite parts with the fox, where he explains how to get adopted and stuff like that. How to ruin a perfectly nice story. Well, just write it with a font that doesn't have those kind of letters. This is like, no. I'm sure you're like, yeah, but 2018 web fonts, we don't have those issues anymore. Yes, we do. So, this is a European project. It's a website for students across Europe. so different names, different kind of characters, to do cultural exchange. So someone sent me this on Twitter, and the fonts they chose, they removed the Slavic character. So these poor people is poorly encoding all the way through the website. What can we do about that? Well, as a designer, it's part of my job to make the right font decisions. I used to design for an interface. I knew that it was going to be translated in Chinese. So the first thing I did is make sure I found a font that has all of the Chinese characters needed as well. And sometimes, even if your font has all the characters, for some reason, usually performance reasons, people want to subset the font. So subsetting means removing characters considered as unnecessary. The issue is what does unnecessary mean? You might not really know necessary for whom, and maybe if your users need to answer some data at some point, you might need those characters. So unless you're 100% sure, you will never have to display data entered by a user on a website, like personal blog or something. I have comments, so no, even I'm not 100% sure I control everything. So unless you know that no user is going to display any information on your website, you can't really tell, decide we're going to subset for this because we think our users don't need those letters. This is kind of a complicated choice, but still really dangerous one. So my A was accepted. We have the right font. I'm off the hook now? Of course not. Welcome to encoding hell. Oh, this is a private joke. So I worked for the company for 5 years, and during those years, and even before I worked for them, I was poorly encoding on their own company forum. So it's a forum for front-end developers in France. It's really, really well known. At this point, it kind of become a private joke with a lot of other people on the forum, which is fun if it doesn't have any issues on your real life. Sometimes it's not the case. So, Jérôme, we can have emojis into email, so the subject, but no, in front of it, yeah. No, we won't be able to display your name properly. I have no idea what happened here. It went through different kind of database encoding, and it ended up something like that. Encoding, bad encoding, it seems to be kind of triggers a Pavlovian reflex. So I pitched this talk at Voxxed Day Luxembourg, and I put something into the call for paper, don't worry, you don't have any encoding issue with your call for paper, I'm just messing around with the title. 5 minutes later, the organizer sent me an email and I'm okay, we got it. It was they saw the thing, they must have seen this little card, it was sending an email right away. This kind of trauma. That's how we hate poor encoding. And I have even really nice people who send me emails on my blog telling me I have encoding issues on my blog. I'm that's super nice of you that you care enough to send me this email, but it's just a joke, I'm sorry. So then you end up with really weird situations. And then again, sometimes those characters get printed. So this was my badge at Pixel Pioneers. They had the issue the year before I came, so Olivier was nice enough to send me the first version of the badge. And of course, it was encoded like that. I have no idea how, frankly. I have no idea what happened here. I've never seen my name encoded like that. But apparently, this is how they do all the accents, because this happened to someone else. So he specifically told them to reprint it. But sometimes it's fun. Sometimes I end them poorly encoded, and then it's a nice icebreaker for 2 days of conference. Sometimes it's not, because our user experience doesn't just stop at the end of the website. For instance, in e-commerce website, it would be a really, really crappy experience if you wouldn't get your parcel because your name was so poorly written that no postman would be able to actually read it. So this happens to me a lot. I'm so used to it, so I either remove the accent or I just have it delivered at work. But the thing is, you've got everything covered, everything is all right in your database, but in the end, if you end up printing labels like that on the parcel you're sending and your users don't get the product they paid for, you have an issue. And you'll have support issue, like people calling the support, telling you they didn't get the thing, stuff like that. So we also have to pay really, really close attention to that, because user experience doesn't stop at our website. It usually goes beyond. Okay, printers couldn't accommodate these characters. So again, I spoke about this a lot on Twitter. And this is Felix. So this is what he explained to me. He wanted to have the New Zealand citizenship. So he filled out this form. He brought the form to an official person, and the person just removed the accent in his name. And they told him, like, we can't print the accent, so I'm just going to remove it. I was like, well, yeah, but no. So he asked, he created this formal complaint, and actually they replied to him. So they replied that they should have accepted the accent, because it's totally fine to have the accent into the database. The only issue is like those printers, the really old one, that print birth certificates, passports, stuff like that, they will not be able to print the accent. So what about almost missing your flight? Because your name on the boarding pass isn't the same name as on the passport. So this happened to Amélie. She was in the US, of course, and she spent like 30 minutes waiting for someone to finally accept that she would be able to go through security, because the agent decided that since it's not the exact same name on the passport and on the boarding pass, like Amélie versus Mrs. De E, she had to wait. And she was like, yeah, they didn't care that we couldn't board. So same for visas. For instance, would you kind of apply for a visa if you couldn't put your name as it was into the passport, and then maybe they wouldn't let you go into the country? So when you apply for a visa, you have this sentence like, if the information doesn't match your passport, you will be turned back upon arrival. But what happens if that form doesn't let you put the exact information because they refuse some of the characters in your name? Would you apply for the visa? Would you go there hoping for the best? Something like that. So as you can see, it's not about my name. It was just a kind of a fun illustration. Other people have a lot of other issues with names, like Irish people, Dutch people. You have issues with Greek name, I guess, Cyrillic alphabet, kanjis, Arabic, stuff like that. The issue is like, we live in a globalized world, and people constantly move around that world. Our website should take this into account, because it's a poor experience to be forced to misspell your own name. We kind of put the needs of the database and the needs of printers and the needs of machines in front of our real user needs. And we need to stop doing that, because this is frankly a really crappy user experience. I really like this sentence. It's postal law. So be conservative in what you send, be liberal in what you accept. Thank you very much.